Fritz Steiger, September 25th, 2020, JH Ranch, Hulett, Wyoming. I'm down here at the corrals on the JH Ranch and just kind of wandering around and reminiscing. These Harvestors were put in by Don Steiger back in the mid-60s, I think about 1965 or 1966, and the idea was that they would harvest the silage, and you would put the silage in them, and they would ferment, and then it would feed out to your cattle in the winter months when you didn't have grass they would be able to graze on. So it's one of the many things that Dad did that was very innovative, and not many people in this part of the country had ever seen that before, but Dad was always on the cutting edge of technology and cattle and whatnot. This area back here was known as the Hunter Place, and when the ranch was put together back in the 1930s, when my grandfather bought it, different pastures were bought in different ranches or homesteads, I guess, were bought and then pieced together to make one big ranch, the JH Ranch. And so one of the significant things about being here and seeing this, these Harvestors, was a story and a memory that from I believe it was December of '66. I think it was December the 4th, if I'm not mistaken, where this little shed was all that existed here. None of this structure was here at the time. It was an open feedlot that Dad had built, and you can kind of see where the cattle would come in. Well, it's actually all been torn out down through here, but there was a big auger that ran all the way from right about here, where you can see in the ground. That was where the pit was still open inside. And then it ran all the way down, about 100 yards, I think, all the way down to the other end. None of the structure was on top of it, but the auger would carry the silage all the way down, feed it out, drop it into bunks all along, and the cattle would come up and they would eat. And so, anyway, the story is that on that morning, Dad had sent all of his hired hands to work in other parts of the ranch, but Lamar, who was 5 years old, my younger brother, came with him. Now, at that time, there was a machine or an auger chain that went into the Harvestor and pulled the silage out and then dropped it into a pit right here where there was a 13-inch auger that would carry the silage all the way down. Now, if you want to know what an auger is, this is an auger. You see, it stays in place, but it moves the material, whether it's feed or gravel or whatever the case might be, moves it along. Well, at the time, this was an open pit, and Dad, somewhere along here, I'm not sure, accidentally stepped into the auger, 13-inch auger, and it started to pull him in, and he was able to take his other foot and to jam it so that it would stop. But then he asked Lamar, who had just turned 5 years old, to come over here, and one of these switches, if not all of these switches, had to be pulled to be turned off. Here's the west silo fan, here's the east silo, here's the pit auger. It looks like this one might have been the one that he would have had to reach up somehow, and I don't think a 4-year-old would have been able to actually reach that, so he probably had to get on something in order to get up there and pull that switch. Well, once he pulled the switch, it stopped it, and then Dad asked Lamar if he would walk up to the house, which it doesn't appear to be that far, but for a little boy, it was quite a long distance to be able to walk, and he had to come out here and go through these cattle pens, and there were a lot of cows here, and Lamar was very small, and he had to walk up to the house up there, and not the first house you see, but the next house inside the trees. Mom was 2 months or 2 weeks overdue with my youngest brother, Alex, and he had to tell Mom that he needed her to call Lewis Wood at the local co-op in town and to be able to bring a cutting torch so that they could cut him out. And so they did, and Mom drove him all the way to Belle-Fourche, which was about 40 miles away, where the doctor was, and was able to stitch him up. And I think he stopped counting switches probably at 130 or something is what I remember. But anyway, Lamar saved Dad's life, and the rest is history.